This is TWiT.
I think we deserve a drink.
Oh my goodness. Well, good news is I have one. So there you go. As you were well aware, because we did a show from there, I was in Romania. And in the past, I have talked about the brandies of that part of Eastern Europe. Although the last time it was Vint, which is actually from Tiraspol, which is in the semi-autonomous region of Moldova, known as Transnistria, which has a long history that I'm not going to get into because it's particularly not funny these days. Let's talk about Romania, because Romania, now you're talking about a country not a whole lot different than the size of Minnesota, although Minnesota has about 5 million people in it, and this place has about 19 million people in it. And it's a very nice place. It really is. But there's a problem when you're a very nice place in between a whole bunch of world powers.
Ask France.
Yeah, you just get, at least they're on the edge. They've got an ocean backing them. The main geologic, there's two primary geological features to think about when you think about Romania. If you're not familiar with the area, it is the end of the Danube River. The Danube starts in southwestern Germany, travels through Austria, Hungary, Croatia, Serbia. It's most of the southern border of Romania and Bulgaria before diverting up towards the end when it empties into the Black Sea in an area known as the Danube Delta. And so this is the original superhighway. Like, that's how you navigate before you can build roads. And then the other big feature in the northwest is the Carpathian Mountains, which span across a lot of Europe, but the bulk of it is in Romania. And that's also the area. So the southern area where the Danube is called Wallachia. And that has been around for long before even the name Romania was used. And the northern part is Transylvania, which for better or worse in the Western world has been subverted into Halloween fodder. And this bloody Bram Stoker's book from 1897 called Dracula. And I got to bring it up just because, look, there was a guy. His name was Vlad Dracul. So he was actually Vlad II. This is not the one. This was the second son. He was called Vlad Dracul because he was actually part of the Order of the Dragon, which he was given in. This is in the 1400s by Sigismund of Luxembourg.
Is this Vlad the Impaler?
Vlad III, his son, was the guy who ended up with the name Impaler. So this is at a time when the Ottoman Empire is pressing into Europe. This is the mid 1400s. This is 1453 is when Constantinople falls to the Ottomans, and they ultimately, that push by the Ottomans is stopped in Vienna in the Great Siege in 1529, and of course the Ottoman Empire will persist until World War I. So not 500 years later. So in the 1400s, for better or worse, Wallachia is sort of the front line between the Ottoman Empire and the Turks coming out of the south and Western European powers such as they were in the 1400s. And so Vlad II makes a deal with the Ottomans to be a vassal state, to balancing off against the Saxons to the north, who are actually controlling Hungary and Transylvania. And Vlad III and his brother Radu are sent to the Ottoman Empire, which is typical. It's kind of a hostage thing. This way you're going to behave because we have your sons. But in exchange, they educate him in the modern Ottoman thinking, which is arguably is one of the reasons why Vlad becomes quite as ruthless as he actually is. And when there's some betrayals goes on and his father is killed, Vlad III is sent in to try and take control of Wallachia again. And then he ends up fighting. He loses and goes back to the Ottomans and fights back. It goes back and forth. And by 1460, he has peace and has control of Wallachia. And then the Ottomans are like, okay, well, it's time to start paying your taxes, do your homage. And he goes, no. And he has the envoys impaled. Now, previously, during his battles to get control of the land, he had successfully captured and sacked some cities or some towns in Transylvania. And he also took those people and had them impaled. It's like, you impale a whole village, they call you an impaler. One way to look at it is like, this is very cost effective murder by the state, right? And plus it makes a good scene. Like the one where he took out the whole village, he literally had the posts put down in the roadway and had the villagers each impaled one after the other. So you got to enter the town looking at all the dying and dead bodies. Impaler. And oddly enough, when he rebels against the Ottomans then have his younger brother Radu, which they'd had back in the time, and they send Radu in to get it back from him. And this is where the whole cruelty story really comes from, because at that point, the Ottomans are mad at him. The Saxons are mad at him. Vlad the Impaler retreats into Hungary, and they imprison him for a decade. And so they become popular stories, and it happens to blend in with the fact that vampirism is a folklore of the Transylvanian mountains. So those two things go together, but it wasn't until Bram Stoker that they combined the
Is this why wine is red?
No, but they do make a wine called Vampire Blood there. Yeah. Not that I would drink it. And I have been in Romania a number of times, and there have been occasions when we were doing tourist things, and I have bumped into a Dracula tour where a whole lot of goth-looking people are riding together to find out this is a book. It's not real. So what has this got to do with wine? Well, almost nothing. Really, but it is. One of the things to realize about Romania is that a big piece of it is on the 45th parallel. This is the same line of latitude that the Rhone region of France is, the Piedmont region of Italy is. Heck, even the Willamette Valley in Oregon is near the 45th parallel, and this same region is in Wallachia in Romania. So they're a breadbasket. They grow a lot of food and they grow a lot of fruit, and it is very normal for the farmers in that area to turn a certain amount of their fruit into alcohol to stop it from spoiling, right? The original project's called TWiT. I try and get it right, the pronunciation. And well, in Twika, if you directly translate it, literally translates as booze. And it's traditionally is made with plums, because plums grow like crazy in that part of the world. And that, in fact, that's why the Poles have Slivovitz and the Bulgarians have Rakia. Like, it's all plum brandy, which, by the way, is typically about 20 to 30% alcohol. I actually had some while I was there, just to remind me that it's only the EU requirements for spirits being 40%. There's no market or no legislation around how a 25% alcohol should work. It's too strong to be wine. It's too weak to be spirits, so it shouldn't exist. It's delicious, actually, at that point. When you make it up to 40, it's not so nice. And because your friend's uncle is making it, sometimes it's 80. And you could strip engine parts with it. But that's the fruit stuff. But we're talking about grapes. And more importantly, we're talking about brandy, which is really, you've made some wine and the wine's going to spoil, or it's not that good, and now you're going to convert it to a higher alcohol again to preserve it. And that's where we get into this term, and this is what's on the bottle, vinars. Now, vinars is a direct translation, means burnt wine, which may sound weird, except that that's really what brandy is too. The original name for brandy is brandy wine, as in also burned wine, which is you are distilling wine into a higher spirit. So brandy's the generalized name. Anywhere in the world can make a brandy. It's just distilled wine. Typically, they're aged in oak barrels, but there's really no restrictions on brandy. Sometimes it's just maybe 6 months or so forth. But there's a couple of famous types of brandy. One of them is cognac, and cognac is from the Cognac region in France. And their rules are only wine, twice distilled in lambic stills, although there's exceptions, and a minimum of 3 years in oak. Vinars, which is the Romanian equivalent, follows almost an identical set of rules. Minimum 3 years, twice distilled. Vinars is almost of Germanic variation, so there are other Vinars. There is a Swiss fruit brandy called Vinars as well. They do try to standardize the aging practices because numbers used to be hard. They would use letters. So you have VS and VSOP and XO and XXO, VS being very special, which means 3 years in wood. VSOP is actually short for very superior old pale. Great name. For cognac, that means 4 years. Vinars, it's 5 years. Then there's an XO, which I have here, which for cognac is 10 years, but Vinars is only 7. And then the XXOs or the extra olds are 14 plus years old. The particular product I have here is called Brâncoveanu. It's named after Constantine Brâncoveanu, who was a prince of Wallachia in the 1600s. And he's a hero of Romania, much the way Vlad Dracul was, because he resisted the Ottomans, which ultimately led to him being beheaded. Seems to be a common theme. The actual distillery here is the Alexandrian Sabre 1789 distillery, which is in De La Maru, which is in Polishit, which is north of Bucharest, about 50 kilometers. Again, right in wine growing region. The Alexandrian Sabre group has wineries. They also make a variety of distilled products. They've merged a few different companies together over the years. The original facility that's from 1789 is actually from up in Brâncoveanu, which is in the far northeast of Romania, north of Iași, where I was. And they make some liquors and some brandy. And then the Alexander Distillery, which is right in used to be right in Iași, and part of the post-Soviet era, primarily brandy. This current distillery is further south now. It's just outside of Bucharest, so 50 kilometers out of Bucharest. So they have stainless steel pot stills that were adapted from grappa production, although they're currently in the process of modifying 2 of them to add copper to them because they want to start making whiskey. And you need you need copper when you're going to distill whiskey because you need to take the sulfurs out of the barley. And they're using Romanian barley. They say basically half the price there. This particular type of brandy, the Vinars, only went into production in 2006. So relatively recent product. They don't have a lot of really old stuff. It is not easy to find in America.
Does it come in a book like this? Is that the box?
So that was actually the gift box that I got, and it had.
You get a copy of the Lord of the Rings with it.
Well, it had 2 glasses in with it as well.
Oh, that's cool. I like it.
So it was a nice little gift package.
It's a nice gift box. Yeah.
So I mean, what we're talking essentially is a 7-year-old's cognac. For about the equivalent of $50 US, which would be about a third of the price of a French XO cognac.
Is it as good, is the question?
Easily.
Really?
Good. Beautifully made. It's the same practices. Things cost less there if you can get them. And for the most part, you haven't seen these products in the West because they were going east. The Russians were buying them all, but they haven't been lately. And so there's a bit more availability here and there.
Nice. This is beautiful.
It's a lovely bottle, isn't it? And I mean, I'm going to put this in my decanter because that's what I do when I show off a bottle like this. It's like it's going to go into the decanter, and I'll drink it over the next.
I'm looking for something to put in my Louis XV beautiful crystal, bottle.
Yeah,
just to fill it up. People won't know the difference. Just put something in there.
Yeah, you put iced tea in there. Who would know?
Well, I want to serve it.
I've done that gag I've done that gag on a talk where it's like all the software's beta, it's going to crash. So I bring out a bottle of whiskey that's actually filled with iced tea. It's like every time this crashes, I'm going to take a big slug and just sort of gulping the bottle down as we kept blue screening over and over again until people are like, "You're going to die." It's like, no, it's iced tea. Come on.
Dvorak told me that there was something Costco had that was perfect for putting in there. Nobody would know the difference, and it was cheap.
Yeah.
But
the Costco folks often buy specific barrelings. Often, under the restriction that they can't admit where they got it from, essentially.
Yeah, see, this is beautiful. This is a beautiful Louis XIII
are quite nice.
bottle.
Beautiful
it's
bottle.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
And
not bad cognac either.
Yeah, well, it was great cognac, although I noticed the bottles are for sale for thousands of dollars on eBay. So the cognac is maybe not the most valuable part of it. I don't know. It's
anyway,
nice.
I try and avoid showing you folks things that you can't buy. It's just mean.
I know.
I certainly enjoy my travels, and I hope you like the story. I felt like I wanted to give Romania some love. They've been great to me. I had a lovely time.
Beautiful.
I'll go back anytime.
Yeah.
And just an understanding of these places have been attacked by every nation near them for a long time because they are wildly productive and valuable. Right. And they still are. Post the end of the Cold War, Romania grew immediately. They grow a tremendous amount of food. They have a highly educated population. There's some phenomenal tech centers there, places like Timișoara and Cluj, just amazing. And the show we did in Iași was lovely. Nice. And along the way, they make some great products. Everything is local.
Nice.
They take that very seriously, and so and to me, I was invited to a home to have a meal, and they said, like, what would you like to drink? It's like, local, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I will drink your wine.
Yeah.
I prefer red. I will drink your Palinka.
Got any Budweiser?
Yeah, not so much. You know?
If
I'm in Wisconsin, fine. A Miller White.
Drink
what's local.
the beer that made Milwaukee famous.
There you go.
Yeah, infamous. I think they script that one up.
So you pronounce it Brâncoveanu? Brâncoveanu.
Yeah.
Okay, XO. And boy, that's a good price for that. And beautiful bottle. I want the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can find that package with the glasses and so forth in the box, and very reasonable price. It's also, I mean, we made hot toddies with it last night because it was a bit
nice.
cool.
Yeah.
A little hot water, a little lemon.
Yeah.
It lifted up very nicely. So
very nice.
Not a pretentious drink, just tasty.
For those who know, Brâncoveanu.
Yeah, turn it into like a Suntory ad, but with a vampire.
For those who know.
For those, I don't always drink wine, but when I do,
I drink Brâncoveanu.
There is this stop on that bloody Dracula tour that I ended up at as well, not because it was Dracula tour, but it's a castle. And it's exactly the castle you think of when you think of like Dracula's
Oh, that's
castle.
fun.
This has nothing to do with Vlad.
No.
I think of it every time I see the Disney
1700s.
castle.
Yeah.
It's a tax castle, right? It's beside the river. It's the way you collect money from merchants trying to travel. But they have one room dedicated to Dracula that says, this place has nothing to do with Dracula. That's a book.
Well, thank you, Mr. Richard Campbell, for your erudite explanation of all things alcoholic.
My pleasure. The only thing better than drinking this stuff is knowing the story of how it was made.
Yeah, I love it. I love the little history lesson on there. Mm-hmm. You are the Rick Steves of booze.
Romania is a cultural bouillabaisse.
You'll find Richard when he's not in Madeira Park at runasradio.com. That's where Run As Radio, his podcast, and .NET Rock, his other podcasts, .NET Rocks are. Runasradio.com. And of course, he's here every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern.